sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Kannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Bennett stepping down and resigning from Virginia right before the season started versus the Villanova team that, folks, I got to take my glasses off. I can't figure this team out. I can't figure this team out for 2 damn years. And the problem that keeps coming up is the coaching of Kyle Neptune.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be back with you. We've got another football game on deck tonight in the National Football League. We will preview the Browns and Steelers. Yeah, that's our game coming up tonight, so we'll preview that. Also get into the very latest in the world of the New York Jets. We're going to have Andy Vasquez here on the show to break it all down for you. Those of you who are still participating in, let's say, an office pool or a football contest of any kind, good news, Brady Kannon will join us later in the show and also give out some picks as well. And we'll also go over the latest in college basketball. Great place to begin today. Congratulations to the all-time winningest coach in the history of college basketball, getting it done once again. 1,217 wins for Gino Auriemma. He is the all-time winningest coach at UConn. 11 NCAA titles, 23 Final Four appearances, 28 conference regular season titles. It's just the incredible feat that he has pulled off, being competitive, being good for so many years, a well-deserved honor being the number one of all time in terms of wins in college basketball. And Auriemma talked after the game and said, it's not that he never saw it coming, it's just surprising when you stack up all of the winning they had over the years.
Yeah, I was saying this earlier that when something happens that you're not exactly planning for or expecting, you're more just, surprised, and you're, kind of lost for words a lot of times. I know it means a lot to a lot of people, here at UConn that worked really, really hard to make it possible. You saw all the players here. Means a lot to them. Every single person that had a hand in all this, it means a lot to them to be a part of it, to come back and want to share in it. And I'm sure, when this season's over, I'll be able to, look back on it and think about it and see where, it all fits. we have practice tomorrow. So that's kind of where we are.
Very understated, Gino, needless to say. Always good to start off the show with some good news, but then, of course, we got to go to the bad pretty quickly here. ESPN reporting that Luka Doncic is going to be out for an extended period of time. Another injury for Luka. This time it's a wrist injury. Dallas Mavericks superstar going to be off the court indefinitely. We'll get a timeline on this, I am sure, later today. Meanwhile, what's the timeline for the Philadelphia 76ers to start winning some games? This season is fading away. They lose again yesterday. 111 was the amount of points they put up. Not nearly enough against the Grizzlies. 117-111 the final. They're 2-12 now on the season. In the game, Paul George hyperextended that same knee that he did in the preseason. We know that Joel Embiid has been on a pitch count, essentially, not playing in back-to-back games. Now they're going to be without Paul George. Maxey just coming back. Needless to say, Nick Nurse struggling for answers at the moment in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's certainly not easy. Tyrese just getting back and didn't really have a feel tonight, and Paul going out. Certainly not easy, but I don't think we didn't put enough together again for 48. I thought again we just got kind of out hustled, just out athleted, out toughed a little bit at the basket in the first half. Second half was obviously better as far as that. It's just searching for lineups that would be able to go out there and play a little more physical and play a little bit better together, etc. There's just a little bit too late for that.
Sixers are going to start having to win some games quickly. You're going to start hearing some rumors about trading their players. Meanwhile, the Knicks put up 138 last night on the road. They go to Phoenix and win by 16. A big game for Jalen Brunson once again. All right, now let's move back to the Eastern Conference, where the Cleveland Cavaliers, one loss to the Celtics doesn't stop them. They pick up a win last night, final 128-100. They blow out the Pelicans, who are struggling just to field a team at the moment. The Thunder beat the Portland Trailblazers 109-99. Chet Holmgren out of that one. Pacers lose again. They're 6-9. They lose to the Houston Rockets. The Clippers upset the Magic at home, 104-93 as 2.5-point underdogs. In Major League Baseball, the awards came out last night for American League and National League Cy Young. Pretty obvious. Tariq Skubal wins for the Detroit Tigers. Not a surprise there. Had a monster season, leading them to the postseason. And over in the National League, a little bit closer, but Chris Sale wins the National League Cy Young for the Atlanta Braves in a great comeback season for him in his first season in Atlanta. Tonight, it is the Browns and Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Bad weather expected, so potentially could be a low total in this one. FanDuel has it at 36.5. Steelers, 3.5-point road favorites. Meanwhile, Seattle Seahawks Training Center lost power as a storm hit the state yesterday, caused them to miss some time, some flashing lights, but of course they'll be able to play this weekend. Will George Kittle play for the San Francisco 49ers? He says he's in, playing against the Packers. Quote, "I will be playing on Sunday. Very excited." Okay, we will see. Pro Football Hall of Fame is going to induct some new members. Eli Manning tops the list, 25 modern era candidates for 2025. Also, Antonio Gates is on that list, so is Jared Allen, and a lot of other players who didn't get in previously. Over in college football action, Ohio, Toledo, the final yesterday, 24-7. Ohio now having a great season, by the way, headed to a good bowl game here in December or January. 8-3 on the road, and they win. Buffalo easily handles Eastern Michigan on the road, 37-20. Tonight, it's a battle in the ACC. NC State takes on Georgia Tech. Jackets, 8.5-point favorites. And also Jim McElwain from Central Michigan announces that he's going to retire after the season. Remember, he also coached the Florida Gators. In college basketball last night, one of the top teams in the country wins and covers. That's the Alabama Crimson Tide, 8.5-point home favorite against top-ranked Illinois. Wooden Award candidate Mark Sears didn't even score a point. They still put up 100. Alabama's offense considered one of the top-ranked teams in the country. Also, number 3, Gonzaga ends up dismantling Long Beach State by a final of 84-41. 5 Zags score in double digits. How about Rick Pitino and St. John's? They end up winning yesterday. They're playing tonight. 2.5-point home favorites against the Baylor Bears. And number 11, Tennessee, 12.5-point favorites tonight against Virginia. That is the college football and college basketball slate continuing this weekend, of course, with the big game between Ohio State and Indiana. First game on the board, 12 o'clock Eastern. Of course, we'll have full previews of that game coming up on Saturday. For those of you who have not yet downloaded the SportsGrid app, you can take out your phone and scan this QR code. It is right there available to you. Just scan it for iOS and Android, and you get it absolutely free. So make sure you download that, the SportsGrid app, and download it. It's free to all of you on iOS and Android as well. Coming up next, we have Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News. He's going to break down the game for us between the Cleveland Browns and Pittsburgh Steelers. And as we take a look right now at the current odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook, the total is 36.5. Steelers minus 3.5-point favorites. Some people feel that this is like the Browns Super Bowl tonight as they head to Cleveland to play this game this evening. Could be some rain, could be some wind. It's that time of the year in Cleveland, folks. So get ready for a showdown tonight. Will the Steelers overlook the Cleveland Browns after that win against the Baltimore Ravens? We will ask that question next to Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News as he joins us immediately after the break. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, Matt, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you goes here on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll get a preview of Thursday Night Football, also some big showdowns in the NFC this weekend. Let's bring in Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News. And all right, Matt, we're back here, another week of the NFL. We got Steelers-Browns. Let's take a quick look here at the board over on FanDuel. I'm seeing still 3.5 points, down from 4. Total has gone down about a half or a point, one of the lower totals we've seen this year on Thursday Night Football. So naturally, in these spots, it's always been a good idea to take the home team and to take the points. But my gosh, like the Cleveland Browns are really hard to trust in any way, shape, or form. Jameis Winston, really good at coming back when they're down big at the end of the game to make it look like a close game, but generally speaking, throwing a lot of interceptions and such. Is there any lean for you at all on this one?
No, not really, honestly. And I've tried with Cleveland. I've tried to think the defense will come back and find some of its form from last year, and I've tried to think Jameis can make plays. I was on him in New Orleans. That did not end well. I just think the Steelers are the much better team. They have more to play for. And, bad weather can be the great equalizer sometimes. We know if it's rainy, we'll get those weird fumbles. The ball slip out of hands. You might get that pick six. But I just don't see it in this one. I really don't. I think that if anything, that's just going to help the Steelers. I think you have a turnover-prone quarterback playing in bad weather with a team that doesn't have a good defense and that has already shown signs of quitting and quitting on their coach. I don't see how that ends well, frankly, even if it is, like you said before, their Super Bowl, and this is the one game they put all their eggs in. I just think the Steelers are playing well. They have a great defense. They have a good running game. They can throw the ball deep when they need to, and I just think they're going to win this one handily.
All right, so there you go. Matt's taking the Steelers pretty obviously tonight. Says it's not a strong lean, but definitely taking the Steelers. I don't know. I guess we have it both ways. Cleveland's had a really hard time against Mike Tomlin, especially on Thursday Night Football. It's just basically not winning ever. But Tomlin's had a hard time on the road, so something's got to give. All right, number one team in the AFC seems to be between Kansas City and Buffalo. I mean, this is a really interesting line over on FanDuel here. How are the Chiefs? Is this right? Minus 175 to have the best record in the AFC, and meanwhile Buffalo, are they just a game behind and they beat them already? Minus 240? I don't know. Pittsburgh plus 850, and then no one else is going to get the top seed, but we'll show you the options on the screen. Any of those first three, does Pittsburgh have a shot?
I think Pittsburgh has a shot, but the reason I think, people like the Chiefs and they're looking at the Chiefs is the schedule. And the big thing is obviously they play head-to-head on Christmas, which will be the big game. But I'd be surprised if the Chiefs lost before then. They do have a game against the Texans this year, who can be tough, and especially if they get healthy. But I think the Chiefs are just in the driver's seat, and they have that loss, obviously, and to the Bills, and that could come into play. But I think it's really might come down to that Chiefs-Steelers game, even more than that, at least on the Chiefs' end. So I like the Chiefs too. There is there value in taking them at that price? I don't think so. That's where we kind of get into that issue. But it's going to be a pretty good race between those final three teams, I think, here toward the end.
Packers taking on the 49ers. The game is at Lambeau this week. The country is getting a lot colder. I've noticed that coming up this weekend here. And you would know, Matt, where you live as well. Packers 1.5-point favorites, total 47.5. Look, these lines are on FanDuel and everywhere else are still telling us, Matt, the 49ers are going to wake up at some point, because if they don't, this line should not be 1.5. It should be like 4, 5, 6, based on the way that they've played. But odds makers are telling us eventually Purdy and company are going to get it going and start winning some games. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do to a point. I think the problem with this one is there's probably going to be no Nick Bosa. George Kittle says he'll be back, but if Nick Bosa's out, man, that's a real hit to that defense. And I want to get behind the 49ers. I want to think, okay, McCaffrey's back. They're about to get going. And then something new happens every week. It's Kittle. It's Bosa. Even Purdy's a little banged up right now. I'm not enamored with the Packers. I don't think they're a great team. Jordan Love's tied for the league lead in interceptions. They'll make mistakes. So I certainly don't look at this one and say, well, no Nick Bosa, if he's out, that means the 49ers can't win or won't win. But I just think it becomes much, much tougher. And the Packers have played pretty well all year, even with Jordan Love's interception. So I just have a tough time backing them here. But they are a talented team. They have the talent. It's just a matter of, does it come together at a certain point? They haven't really shown us that's going to be the case, though. So I'd like to see it, and I'd like to see it against a good team this week. And I'll probably be a week late on them, but that's okay with me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, the NFC West, the team that's favored to win right now was the team that was picked to finish last in the division at the beginning of the season. It's the Arizona Cardinals, and a huge surprise. They are 6-4 on the season, minus 110 to win. And of course, the 49ers are still at the second best odds at 3-1, although they already lost to the Cardinals. The Seahawks already beat the 49ers too. gosh, it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around the Cardinals winning the division, but I guess I have to start taking a look at that. Maybe this week against the Seahawks will give us a clearer picture.
Yeah, look, I've been wrong on the Cardinals, I think, every week this year, or at least all but maybe one or two. I keep not believing in this team, and they keep winning. It's one of those situations. I think everyone has one or two of those teams every year. The Cardinals are my team this year. At a certain point, you got to say, okay, this team's actually pretty good. They're making plays. They have a really good running game. They can throw the ball as much as they need to, and the defense is much better than I gave it credit for, and they're being well coached. Seattle's a weird team. I think people still give them that home field advantage that I don't really know if they have at this point anymore. And the big thing, sometimes there's one stat that really stands out. When I look at this game, I see how bad Seattle's run defense is. It's been bad all year. It's been their Achilles heel. And I look at how good Arizona's running offense is. Part of that's due to Kyler Murray, don't get me wrong. But anytime you watch a Cardinals game, or at least it's on while you're watching another game and you get the game break that cuts in, which is more likely, it's James Conner running wild. And it's just the way it seems to be this year. So it's a tough game to pick. It's not really one I'd want to put a lot of money on, but Arizona's a better team, and they're well rested. And that's just sort of the way it is. And I think that they are on the good side of sort of a fatal stat.
Yeah, I do really like the backup running back on Arizona, Benson. I think that guy is going to be a player sooner than later in the NFL. All right. Thanks again, Matt, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
All right. We'll check in on the Jets with Andy Vasquez of NJ.com up next.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, Matt, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Time to check in on the latest with the New York Jets. It's been a very tumultuous couple of weeks, to say the least. Andy Vasquez with us from NJ.com to break it all down, see where the future is headed. Andy, thanks for spending a few minutes of your time here with us on NewsWire. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, tumultuous feels like a couple years since they got Aaron Rodgers, but yeah, and the last 2 months feels like a couple years. It's been crazy.
Yeah, no, there's a lot happening, but I guess at this point, the negative is probably going away soon, and the positive is coming because, again, you're going to be covering a rebuild, I'm guessing, with the Jets here. So they fired Joe Douglas. Douglas did draft a lot of talented players, without a doubt. He definitely, for a period of time, Andy, as you know, in this business, had the owner's ear, which is obviously crucial to keeping your job. But at some point, that went south. So I guess I would ask you and start there. When did that begin to deteriorate to the point where this was coming? When do you think that began?
Well, I think last year you started to see the signs of it, and really the way last year went down, it was such a failure. And I had a problem with the fact that Woody Johnson decided with 3 weeks left in the season that he's bringing these guys back when they did nothing to adjust to the loss of Aaron Rodgers. And I think he still kind of didn't believe. You could see he didn't believe. You saw some staffing changes where the assistant GM, Rex Hogan, at the end of the year left, or at the very beginning of this year, at the end of last season, he left and was not really replaced. It wasn't ever replaced. And if you're going to keep him and you're not going to operate with, it's just not a logical decision. And that's why the Jets are in this situation they're in, because it's not being based on logic. Woody's involvement has been heavy. There's been signs of it everywhere, even going back to last year with Aaron Rodgers talking about on his weekly appearance on another show, talking about how Woody was making them practice during the bye. That is not something an owner should be doing. And it kind of speaks to overall the general involvement he has is a hindrance here. I don't think it's going to be a deal breaker for the Jets getting new candidates because there's only 32 of these jobs, coach and GM, but it's definitely not going to be like they're going to be at the top of the list. So it's a concern. And Douglas, even though he got 6 full years, which is a condition that he guaranteed or he made when he came here as a very highly touted guy, it wasn't enough time to get it turned around. So it's a tough situation. And it ended poorly for Douglas, who had some good moments, but also really missed on a lot of stuff, no matter how much Woody was interfering or not.
Yeah, no, I think both of those comments are fair. So I guess here's kind of where I would go with this, is that, Andy, in covering sports, and I do the same, is that it feels like to me these stories of owner involvement are just not unusual at all. To a degree, we hear about this all over sports. They own the team. They can choose to do whatever they want. But there was a time in the Jets' past, I suppose, where when Bill Parcells was there, they were able to just sort of operate where they had somebody in place that kind of was running the entire show. And so I guess that would be my question to you. Do you think that there will come a time where he'll be able to turn over the keys of the kingdom, so to speak, like he did with, I believe it was Tannenbaum to a degree, where he'll just say, hey, look, not I'm out of my league. No owner's going to say that, Andy, but they're going to say, hey, look, maybe we need to have somebody as a football czar. Do you think that happens?
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a confusing situation because Woody might be leaving to go back to the Trump administration. It seems likely that he will. And his brother Christopher did a lot of things that didn't work out, but I think he learned on the job. And one of the things he did well was pick the football guys, let them handle it. So the fact that he could be coming back into power with the lessons that he learned from all the mistakes he made in his 4 years running the show could be encouraging. I think they should do that. But with Woody, you never know. He could go the other way, and he's so stubborn and could say, I'm handling everything now because you don't think I can do it. It's totally unpredictable. It's a tough situation to succeed, and I get what you're saying. But I think owners have to know like what they know and what they don't. And it's nothing wrong with not being an expert on football. I've covered this team for 9 years, and I'm wrong all the time. And Joe Douglas, his whole life, he's wrong all the time. So you got to be open to learning.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think it's a pipe dream for most owners, Andy. I just don't think it happens.
You're right.
Most of them want to operate this as a hobby, and it's just the nature of the game. All right, 30 seconds to go. Aaron Rodgers back next year? Yes or no?
Probably not. And your last point was great, by the way. That's why there's only a few really successful, consistent franchises in the world. But I just don't think there's too much baggage for Rodgers to be back. There just is. Even if it's his only chance to play, he's already just done too much where Jets fans aren't going to want him back.
All right, he'll go to the Vikings, just like Brett Favre did. All right, thanks again, Andy, for coming on. Appreciate it.
together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, Matt, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek because I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at some possible leans tonight with a couple of quarterbacks in the NFL and also go over the odds for some games this weekend. We've got Adam Kaufman once again in the house from SportsGrid to break it all down for you. Adam, once again, welcome back to NewsWire here. Looking forward to breaking it all down. Without further ado, let's take a look at the line tonight. Updated by the minute with us here on SportsGrid. Steelers 3.5-point favorites, total 36.5. So, everywhere I look on social media, Adam, I'll tell you what they're all saying. Bet the under, and then bet the under some more. So naturally, there'll be like 50 points in this game, right? That's the way this usually goes.
Well, we've seen the total plummet, basically a touchdown from where it opened, basically because of, all the reasons that everyone is saying, bet the under, bet the under, bet the under. It's the weather concerns going into this one. That goes beyond it being obviously a cold weather game. It could be a messy game. So, look, I get it. And people just in general with these primetime games tend to want to look toward the under in general. Plus, you have two teams that it's not like they play in a lot of high-scoring games. I mean, the Steelers are even. They're 5-5 over-under this year. The Browns 6-4 to the under. So it skews under ever so slightly. I do get it. Plus, when you consider the weather, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a big passing game. So that makes you look at the running backs. All that said, I don't know. Once you get into that 36.5, 37 territory, I'm not sure I really want to play around with it. This is one of those weird games. I don't know how you feel about it, Craig, where I don't necessarily want to go near the total. I don't have a great feeling, a lean, I suppose, but not a great feeling about the spread either, just because of that hook going to 3.5 there. So it really takes me more into sort of the player prop streets. It's an odd game. I'm oddly looking forward to it because it's not two teams that are super compelling for the eyes, and yet I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just a football junkie and it's Thursday night football, and so I'm getting myself excited for a game that if it were happening on a Sunday, I wouldn't care less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'll have a lot more fun on Saturday. I have a feeling this year. But you know, when I sort of play this game out, I dream these games. Like I sort of say, what could I see happening? My concern for this game is one way or the other a defensive touchdown, which would push this over the total.
Sure.
That would be my concern in a game like this. It seems like a rock solid bet for the under, but If everybody's on the same thing, I'm going the other way. All right, I was totally wrong on Russell Wilson. This is probably the most right I was when he was first traded. I was the only one here on the network saying it was a horrible trade for Denver. Everyone yelled at me. But when he went to Pittsburgh, I thought, wow, this is horrible too. Like, he's not going to be good there. He's actually been really good. So Tomlin made the right decision. Glad I'm here and Tomlin's coaching. Let's take a look at his props. Passing yards tonight, 186.5. If he a half a touchdown, the over is minus 235. So no one's going to get silly on that. But the under is plus 175. Rushing yards, 10.5. Anytime touchdown, plus 550. Anytime interception, which has been a pretty good bet for him, minus 108. The no is minus 120. So he's done a really good job, Russell Wilson, for them. They're winning games. He's playing better than Fields did. It was the right decision at the time. Is there anything you like for him this evening?
Well, look, if you and I had a daily show here on the grid, there'd be a lot of tape of the two of us simultaneously crapping all over Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson, because I was right there with you, incredibly wrong about how this was going to play out. They are off to an 8-2 start. Russell Wilson's been a big part of it. Here's the thing. The Browns allow an average of about 227 passing yards per game. Russell Wilson, in his game, since he has obviously become the starter of this team and taking the place of Justin Fields, is averaging about 236 passing yards per game. And yet, if you look at the player props for this game, Wilson's line comes in ballpark 50 yards below that. 50! That's insane to me. So, yeah, despite the weather concerns in this one and all of the, are they going to lean on the running backs? Is it a big Najee Harris game? Will this be the game that Nick Chubb finally emerges? Should we all be loading up on the overs for Jaylen Warren rushing plus receiving? Look, I get all of that. I don't know how you don't go over on Russell Wilson's passing yards. You're getting below 200. I understand that, you know, the Browns have a capable defense on the other side, though it is not what the Steelers' defense is that should, you know, arguably give Jameis Winston that much more trouble. And, oh, by the way, I like his over as well. You know, we're not talking about 225, 245, you know, what, like 185, 190 passing yards for Russell Wilson when he still has Pickens and some of the other weapons available to him in that offense against a Browns defense that has shown quite a level of inconsistency. Yeah, I'd go over. And I am no Russell Wilson fan, not at this stage of his career, maybe not at any stage of his career. I would still invest in his overs tonight.
Yeah, Najee Harris could see some time too. And you mentioned Winston. We'll take a look at his odds. Adam just basically told you where he's going. So the lead, we've buried it. Over 217.5 yards. It's so funny to me that people think Jameis Winston is good. I mean, his stats are definitely good at the end of games after he's thrown his 2 picks and 2 touchdowns and 300 yards. But you're right. I mean, it doesn't matter. You know, I mean, we could dream on this one. What's the score? Let's see, 19-6 with like 6 minutes to go. And then here comes Winston just throwing down the field, getting his extra 70 yards at the end of the game and a touchdown. And then the end result looks good. But in the interim, he's throwing tons of picks. Anytime interception, minus 198, Adam, on an anytime interception for a quarterback. I mean, look at that number. It's staggering.
Well, he was intercepted 3 times by the Chargers. We know that with that defense on the other side, he's going to be even more prone to mistakes. And so, yeah, I would say that a interception from Jameis Winston feels like a quote-unquote safe bet. I know we never like to say there's, you know, free money in the gambling space, obviously, but certainly feels like a good parlay piece. That's for damn sure at the books that will allow it. But again, I do like his over. I got it. It actually has ballooned compared to where it was. It opened at like 203.5 or something like that. And I jumped on his over at that point. Like you said, it's right around 217.5, 216.5. And so it has climbed considerably. But again, especially if everyone wants to believe, and rightfully so, that the Steelers are the better team, they're going to win this thing. You threw out a, you know, let's say the score is 19-6. You certainly didn't mean the Browns are going to be winning. So if people believe that that's what the game is going to look like and Pittsburgh is going to be in front, then he's going to be passing. You know, he's going to be playing from behind and throwing the football. And sure, that might lead to some mistakes. But in general, Jameis Winston clearing 220 passing yards doesn't feel like a big ask for a guy that sometimes goes out and effortlessly, albeit with some mistakes, you know, gets to 300 passing. So yeah, I like the over on Winston. I do. And I think that another way to play this, and I was talking about this on my show last night, is the props, the receiving props are so low for the likes of Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman and David Njoku and, the like. I mean, you can, all these guys, they're below 50 receiving yards. There isn't a CeeDee Lamb, a Jamar Chase in the mix where this guy's got like 75 for his over-under. I'd play the overs on all of them and just hope that you cash, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. And, it's probably going to go that way because he spreads it around. Look at the target share. I won't bother, with all these numbers, but, on your own time, people, look at the target share for the receivers, the pass catchers in that Cleveland offense since Winston took over. It's all over the place. There is no dominant target share to one guy. And so I think that's the right way to play it.
Yeah, and very similar to, not with New Orleans, but similar to when Winston was with Tampa Bay, was throwing to literally everyone on that team for a period of time. All right, Vikings, Bears, let's break this one down. Vikings minus 3.5-point favorites over the Bears, total 39.5. Minnesota is just wasting our time this season, Adam, because they're going to win their 10, 11 games and then get knocked out immediately. But they could probably win this game this week too. What a boring team, the Minnesota Vikings. They just keep winning. Brian Flores is like the defensive coach of the year without a doubt. Probably a close game again. What do you want a hook here? Anything? Any interest?
No, I'm with you. I mean, they're 8-2, and they're honestly, it doesn't feel like they're very good. What I will tell you in terms of trends is the Bears are 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 home games. So at least on their turf, they make stuff difficult. But Caleb Williams facing a Brian Flores blitzing defense on the other side. He's in for a nightmare games. I'd expect turnovers in that one too.
All right, we'll be right back.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, Matt, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma will do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Our next guest has a very big smile to start the show today. It was I think the best week of the season, if I'm not mistaken, for the guys over at the Football Contest Show. Brady involved as well. And Brady, of course, you can catch him and James Salinas and Mike Pritchard on their program each and every Saturday here on Sports Grid. Brady, thanks for coming back here on the show. I guess like a mini contest in play for you guys all of a sudden. Really good week for you guys.
Well, a couple nice weeks in a row. So yeah, and it was our strategy a couple weeks ago. You and I talked about it here on your program that it was decision time. Are we going to go completely rogue and contrarian? And we kind of decided, you know what, we don't have a chance to win this thing. So let's try and win a mini contest and not deviate from our plan. Let's make our best picks. Let's try and pick winners and see if we can get on a little run here for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or 9 weeks and cash a mini contest. And so far, so good, knock on wood, with a couple good weeks in a row. But it is decision time right now. If you're kind of in that neighborhood where maybe you're in the top 30% of this contest, you probably want to still stick with your best picks, but you want to have a lean to going opposite in a couple of areas as well, because the only way you're going to make up ground is deviate from the masses. And the masses is the consensus, the top 5 most popular picks. And then any game where you figure one side's going to be more popular than the other, you want to try and be in the minority in at least a few instances in order to move up in the standings. So it is decision time right now. And so far, so good, like I say, for our team on the contest show, where we've decided to not change our strategy, just continue to go with our best picks, whether they're popular or not, and hopefully we can get hot and hit a mini contest.
Yeah, and some really good ones too. I mean, I got to tell you, Denver was maybe the best bet of the entire season in the NFL. I mean, that game was over from like the first 5 minutes. I honest with you, I don't know. I was like, all right, if they like Denver, then that's who I'll go with here. I thought Atlanta had a shot in that game. My gosh, I was completely wrong. I'm like questioning myself here on the Falcons, but also Colts was a really good pick too. Lots of good picks for you guys last week. All right, so week 12, this is going to be tough, Brady. It's going to be a hard week for everybody betting in the NFL and anybody picking in any contest. You may say, well, why is this week different? I mean, so many teams on bye this week. It's like bye palooza. So you don't have the opportunities this week. You're going to see a lot of contest picks with Sunday Night Football and some with Monday Night Football. I don't think Thursday still is in the equation, but to me, it's not so much about the games being harder to pick. You just have a lot less to choose from.
Well, you're right. Absolutely a lot less to choose from. And also you have a lot of road favorites, which is really tough. I mean, you were talking about the Vikings at the Chicago Bears with Adam in the segment previous. This is the 3rd straight road game for Minnesota. That's typically not a good situation. And I would, want to lean towards the Bears there off of that, given the fact that Minnesota is on the road for the 3rd straight week. You've got the Eagles at the Rams. The Eagles appear to be the better team. My numbers say so. But, you've got these road favorites all over the place this week. And it's hard to lay points with those teams. Obviously they're perceived as the better team if they're a favorite. But that's just a tough equation, having the guts to lay the wood with that team or having the guts to take the home dog. So there's not a lot that really jumps off the page this week at first glance.
Yeah, and again, double-digit favorites this season, if I'm not mistaken. I think am I right by saying I saw the Lions was actually a fairly popular pick last week, laying 14. Am I right that they've covered every spread this season, double-digit favorites? Is that correct? Something like that?
You might be right. I mean, we remember from the first handful of weeks of the season, if you were a dog of 5.5 points or more, your record was abysmal. Remember that? And the dogs were winning outright. And Circus Survivor, you had this carnage, that was unprecedented. But yeah, the Lions are an absolute machine. I mean, that's another one. There's another road favorite, laying 7 points to the Colts. The right play, handicapping 101, would be to take a touchdown with the home dog. But do you want to get in front of the Lions right now, Craig, with anybody's money? I mean,
no.
Boy, they're a machine.
They are. They're covering every spread. Best team against the spread this season. All right, Circus Survivor down to under 100. Some poor people had to take the Browns last week. They must have ran out of teams to pick, I guess. 49ers, I understand they were relatively large favorites at Seattle. So you feel good going in and then you lose. So 4 people lost that one. But boy, these 2 people who took the Browns, they got to be kicking themselves. Like, how did we get ourselves into this spot? Under 100 people left to make $14 million, Brady.
Yeah, I got to believe those Browns picks were some people that maybe had more than one entry. I guessed that the Lions would be the most popular. That worked out. The Dolphins being a very popular pick surprised me a little bit. I thought the Raiders off of a bye might have a shot to upset the apple cart there. No chance. It was all Miami. And the Browns were in a good situation, I thought, too, coming off of a bye. You had New Orleans. The week prior, they had that new coach bounce, the inspired effort with the new head coach. And you wondered if that would trickle over into a second straight week. And it really did, against a team that was off of a bye, had a chance to reset. I thought Winston and company would go in there and put up a much better fight than they did. But I got to believe that pick was probably with someone with more than one entry. Our own Paul Bovey, who appears on the network with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, comes on right after me on Wednesday nights. He still has 2 entries alive in Circa Survivor, Craig. Yeah, so that's who I'm rooting for now. I was rooting for our man Joe Ranieri. I was rooting for Kelly in Vegas and John Murray. They're all gone. I was rooting for Gabe. Now I'm rooting for Paul Bovey. Let's see him get the $14 million.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna have him on the show. Frank, take a note. We got to get him on.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I got to do that. I mean, come on. Steelers Browns tonight. So everything points. You take Cleveland and you just go about your business based on the history of Thursday night football here. I'm having a really hard time doing it though. I got to be honest. +3.5. Line stuck on that half. It was 4 actually to open up. Any lean tonight?
I made the number 4.5 in favor of Pittsburgh, but I'm with you. I could only take the home dog here. Pittsburgh 0-7 on the road on Thursday nights off of that huge win over Baltimore. Pittsburgh, we see them lay an egg in these spots as a road favorite all too often. They're pretty fat and happy off of last week. I could only play Cleveland.
All right, thanks, Brady.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we wrap up the show today, we'll have an update on the Christmas Day game on Netflix, also the Thanksgiving Day game between the Cowboys and Giants, and also LeBron James saying farewell to social media. Time now for some last licks. I mean, let's be honest. This has been the biggest story of the week, and this fight was last Friday night. We're still talking about it today. It's like constantly trending on social media, this Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson result fight. I mean, on TikTok, what's funny about this fight, by the way, is they're saying that it was fixed by Jake Paul, and then there's some people saying it was fixed by Mike Tyson. You're getting 50-50 fixed by both sides. Pretty funny. But the one thing that definitely was not fixed, we've talked about this on the show once again, is the fact that a lot of people had issues watching the fight on Netflix last Friday night because of buffering issues, streaming issues. Well, NFL has now been asked to comment on that, and they have a game coming up on Christmas Day that's going to be produced by CBS but aired on Netflix, and they say much ado about nothing. So those of you who are getting ready to watch this game, and there's potentially going to be more people watching this, I think, than Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson on Netflix is this Christmas Day game on the with the NFL. But here is the thing, and the Netflix reported late yesterday that it was the most watched sports streaming event of all time on Netflix last Friday night. Maybe that is the case. I have no idea. I couldn't watch it. I mean, I had it. I'm just being honest. I had issues watching the fight. I stopped before it even began. I was not going to go back and refresh. Maybe it's because where I live, there's been some speculation based on the location of where you lived in the country. You got different streaming feeds, some buffering, some not. Maybe because of I live in Florida. I have no idea. But I will be on the air watching this game, talking to you guys Christmas Day. I work every Christmas Day here on SportsGrid, and I'm going to do it again this year. Hopefully I am not buffering, or at least watching. I want to watch this and talk to you guys about it on Christmas Day. One thing I do not want to do is work on Thanksgiving Day, so I will not. I'll be off. I'll be watching this great game between Dallas and New York. Those of you who are going to go to the game, you have an opportunity to see an NFL game for under $30. That's what tickets are selling for Thanksgiving Day in Dallas, usually the hottest ticket of the year. It always is in Detroit. It definitely is in Dallas. But you can go see this matchup between the Giants and Cowboys, two of the worst teams in the NFL right now on the purchasing apps for under $30. This is true. And by the way, the tickets are not even bad for $30 too. Like upstairs, by the time this game goes off, you may be able to buy $5 tickets, which is just crazy in this day and age of the NFL, especially in a place like Dallas. Needless to say, this Cooper Rush versus Tommy DeVito quarterback matchup isn't turning a lot of heads. I suppose the only reason why anyone's going to watch this one is because you can get away from the food table for a bit. Maybe you're betting on it, or maybe you got some fantasy football implications going into the playoffs. That could be as well. Finally, yesterday, we say farewell once again to our good friend LeBron James on social media. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with LeBron James, for an athlete of his magnitude, he's on social media more than anybody else in the world. This is true. For a guy that is this popular, arguably the best or second best player in the history of the NBA, one of the greatest athletes of all time, he's pretty active on social media. But yesterday, which is really weird, he has said that he has decided to step away from the site formerly known as Twitter, now known as X. Now, by the way, he did not say that he's going to Blue Sky or anything like that. We're seeing a lot of that, by the way, this week and last week on social media as well. He just says it's time for a break. Now, for those of you familiar with LeBron's social media habits, he's done this every year before the playoffs. So this is coming about 5 months early, saying farewell. Our producer Frank says that this is nonsense, that he's going to be back in a day or two. I don't know. We will see. Either way, no more social media for LeBron James. Does this mean he's headed over to Blue Sky? I'm getting a lot of people telling me I got to go over to Blue Sky. I'm happy with where I am. If I have to, I guess I will, but I'm not the kind of person that's constantly on there tweeting or doing anything else. All right, that will do it for our action-packed edition of the show today. Thanks again to our guests, Brady Kannon, Matt Lutovsky, Andy Vasquez, all great jobs here on the program. Pharrell Coast to Coast coming your way later today, 3 o'clock Eastern, with a preview of Thursday Night Football game time decisions. And then it is time for Pro Football Today, followed by In-Game Live Pro Football Game Day, and of course tonight, Pro Football 2-Day Postgame. Thanks to Luke, our director, and our producer Frank. I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your day here on SportsGrid. I'll be back for our Friday edition of the show as we get you ready for the football weekend. Bill Bender will join us from Sporting News with college football and breaking down everything else. Have a great night, everyone. See you tomorrow.